Hăīre, φίλε, and welcome. Today we are in John chapter 3, taking a look at verses 34, and I think I'm going to include verse 35. That way we have a little bit longer one today, and then a shorter one next week. Here is our rubric, everything that we're looking for as we go through this text. Let's go ahead and get started. First of all, make sure everything is actually in the screen. Hon gar apostelen, ho theos ta remata, tu theu lalei, ugar ekmetron didosin to pneuma, ho pater agapa, ton huion kata panta dedoken en te kairi autu. And that's as far as we're going to make it. Very first word is a relative pronoun, so this comes from hos, he, and ho. So since we have the nu right there, we know that this one is going to be the masculine and it is singular. And, oh, I wrote everything backwards, sorry. And then the case, I guess we're doing it backwards. This has to be accusative, it's the only option. So this needs to be the direct object of some verb, which probably comes from verse 33, or it may come later on in the sentence. Gar, that word just means for. Apostelen, we have our epsilon nu ending right there, so that's going to be a third person and singular. Apostello, apostello, apostela, so this is the aorist stem. You can tell two ways because we've got the augmenting vowel right there and the epsilon iota diphthong right there, so pretty easy. And active and indicative. Looking ahead, ho theos, we've seen this form before, don't need to parse it again. So the particular God sent. All right, then we come to ta remata. Ta, this tells us that this is a neuter noun right here. And I think we've seen this a few times before, so we should know that. But ta has two options from ho he to. It could either be the nominative plural neuter, or it could be the accusative plural neuter. So we already have a singular verb here with a subject. So if this were the nominative, we would expect another verb afterward. Could either be singular or plural. So we take a look ahead. Lalei, this one does appear to be singular. So ta remata could be a plural neuter noun acting as the subject of a singular verb. So I'm going to write our two options down. Nominative, accusative, not singular, plural and neuter. The words tu theu, we've seen that before, no need to parse it again, of the particular God. And then lalei, epsilon iota here. So see that we've got the circumflex. This means that this is a contract. I don't remember if the last one, or I guess it would be the second to last one of these that we ran into was the same word, but you should remember from previous videos what this contract form is when it's uncontracted, so I'm not going to bother with that again. Third, singular, present, active, and indicative. So this is says or speaks. And that ends our first clause. Now we need to come back to hon and figure out what's going on. I'm going to bring in verse 33 so that we have that for reference first. So we've got the one accepting the witness, he caused to be attested that the God is truthful. So verse 33 does not allow, or it doesn't really set up a verb for this one. However, hon can be referring back to the subject of verse 33. So then we need to take a look at this in its own context and get a better idea of what our options are. So at the very least we have the God sent. God has to send something, and rhema could be that the God sent the words of the God. But then we have to ask, well, who is the subject of lalei? Taking a look back at hon, we still don't have an answer for that, so it makes most sense for hon to be actually the object of apostelen and ta rema to be outside of the relative clause. So that's how I'm going to treat it. So it would be for the God sent whom, or for whom the God sent, and then we would exit our relative clause and then enter this section right here. The first option that we have, the one that actually has a listed subject, has ta rema as the one doing the action, so then it would be for whom the God sent the words of the God says. Now, automatically, at least my English brain there is correcting to have this as the direct object of that, even though I tried to set it up as the subject. Now, it doesn't make much sense for the words to be speaking, especially since we've got this right here, this person. So I think it's actually pulling our subject back from verse 33. So he says, or he speaks the words as the direct object is what I'm going to go with there. Moving on, for, u, not. Ek is a preposition plus the genitive case. Take a look at metru, omicron, upsilon right there, so that's definitely our object. Didosin is a verb, so the prepositional phrase ends right there. This is singular, and I think this is neuter. So that's how I'm going to treat it. Didosin, we've got omega, sigma, iota, nu. However, didosin is a me verb, so it doesn't always form the way that we would expect it. So just looking at this looks like a third person plural, possibly subjunctive with that omega. But what the real thing going on here is we've got two options. Third person plural subjunctive is one option in the present tense. So I'm going to write that one down. And then the other option is a third person singular, and it is indicative. Just due to the nature of the irregularity of this verb. Now, we only want a subject if we have, not a subject, a subjunctive if we have a clause specifically set up for that. We don't have any of the markers before this to tell us that we have a subjunctive clause right here, so it could be an independent use of the subjunctive. But the other problem here is the number of this. The fact that we have a third person plural, so that means that we need a plural subject. Looking at back there, that doesn't work. To pneuma is singular, and singular neuters don't really go with plural verbs. I can't think of a time that one has when I've been reading anything, so I would doubt that. But the third person singular, that one makes a lot more sense since we've got both ho theos as an option and the unspoken nominative of hon right there. So then that would be for, not, ek metron, he gives to pneuma as the object, because to could also be accusative. To could be our subject, but that would be the spirit gives. But gives what? We don't have anything. So it makes more sense for to pneuma to be our object. So that is how I'm going to treat it. And it also fits with our previous clause pattern, if I'm correct about it, that la ley has an unlisted subject. So didosin having an unlisted subject, it wouldn't be surprising even without that right there. Now back to ek metron. Metron, it means a measure. So we have out of or from measure. He gives. For he does not give the Spirit out of measure. And well, that in English just sounds really weird. Well, I took a little bit closer look at metron in, I think it was BDAG, and BDAG offers a possible translation for this verse specifically, that instead of just out of or from, it has the meaning without a measure. And that would be, this would in effect be, oh gosh, what is it? I forget what the turn of phrase is, but where you say the negative to, or the negative to imply the positive. It's not hyperbole. I don't remember what it is, but basically saying the opposite of what you mean. So not That's kind of what it sounds like in English. But ou plus ek metron could have the idea of without measure, overabundantly maybe. Yeah, I don't need to do any more there. All right, verse 35, ho pater. That's very nice right there. We've got ho from ho he to, telling us that pater is in fact our nominative, which should be obvious since it's a third declension. Brain went blank there for a moment. Nominative, singular, masculine, the particular father. Verbs, well, we got agapai. So this could be a dative singular, except the noun here is agape with an eta. And this could be a hybrid first declension, and I didn't actually think to look that up at the time. I just went immediately with the verb. But if you don't remember what a hybrid first declension is, that means that the nominative singular is eta and the accusative singular is eta nu, but the dative and the genitive singular, they use the alpha, but then the plural is, of course, normal. And I don't actually remember if agape forms that way. So that's up in the air. I guess I'll leave a note when I look that up. But what we have here as a verb is, well, first of all, the circumflex should be a warning to us. I don't remember if the accent, and another note, accent appears all the way on the ultima. I think on the noun it appears further to the left. But anyway, the circumflex tells us that we've got some contraction going on here. The verb is agapao, so alpha omega is our uncontracted first person singular form. So we have here is actually alpha epsilon iota as the ending. And then the alpha and this diphthong, they meld together. The epsilon drops out, and then the sub-iota goes almost silent and ends up underneath the alpha. So, I think a lot of people believe in Koine that the sub-iota isn't even pronounced. And back in my younger days, I am in my younger days, but back in the day when I was first learning Greek, a couple of us in class always tried to differentiate all of the different sounds with the iota, and it's hard, and we were probably wrong, so I don't really do that very much anymore. Anyway, so this tells us that this is a third person and it is singular. It's clearly off of the present stem. We don't have any augmentation right there. And it is active, and I just ran out of room. It is indicative. So the father loves ton huyan, omicron nu, we know what that is, the particular son, kai, and pas pan. So this is with our alpha right there. This is going to be brain. Oh gosh. It's accusative. It is the direct object, but now I'm not remembering if this is plural. Pontes is nominative plural masculine feminine, which would then mean that pontes is also accusative plural masculine feminine. And the neuter plural, I think, should be panta, but panta might appear 3 times. Let me grab my handy card that remembers for me. So there we go. Zoom in on that, maybe. So we got our singulars right here. Panta is accusative singular masculine. Okay, good. I remembered that correctly. And then, neuter is there, but I forgot that feminine takes the sigma in the plural. So pontes, and it's pontas. Ooh, breaking of the pattern there. I forgot that it did that. So our 3 options are accusative singular masculine, nominative plural neuter, accusative plural neuter. I'm going to leave that alone, and let's go ahead and get to our verb dedoken. So here we have epsilon nu as our ending, so third singular. I'm sorry, I keep saying the word so. You get rid of one verbal tick, and it's automatically replaced by something else. Try to edit those out, sorry. Now, dedoken, epsilon nu, third singular, that kappa there, especially with the reduplication, though this being a me verb, and dido me starting out with the reduplication in the present, that doesn't really tell us much. Primarily it's the kappa that tells us that this is the perfect tense, and it is active and indicative. So, has given, specifically the father has given, But not just that. He has given, and it is given up until now, because the perfect has that started in the past with continuing effect into the present sense. Otherwise, if John didn't intend that for the meaning, he would have just used the aorist tense. So remember that. Until now. N. This is a preposition, and it takes the dative as its case. Sub iota with that article, so yeah, that's dative. Chαῖρε, the iota there on the end of this third declension noun, that tells us it is also dative. Autou, that doesn't fit, so a prepositional phrase ends right there. And this is singular and feminine. 99% sure there. In the hand. Autou, no need to parse, of him. And there we have it, except for the panta. Now we need to try the only two remaining options, accusative singular or accusative plural. The Father loves the Son and has given everything in the hand of him. Or, the Father loves the Son and has given all things in the hand of him. Both of them make sense. Both of them work. And checking my card again, there is no difference between the masculine and the neuter in the article in the accent. My card could be wrong, of course. So there's no clear indication. It could go either way, and frankly, both ways work. So I'm going to write down both options, and the choice would just be up to the translator at that point. So, brain. Accusative, singular, plural, masculine, neuter. Everything, all things. And there we have it. Now let's take a look at 34 and 35 in their own context, and then from verse 31, and you're free. For whom the God sent, he speaks the words of the God. For he gives the Spirit not out of measure, or not without measure. The Father loves the Son and has given until now everything, all things, in the hand of him. Okay, now from 31. The one coming from above is above all. The one being from the earth is from the earth, and he speaks from the earth. The one from heaven coming is above all. What he has seen and he heard, this he witnesses, and his witness no one accepts. The one receiving, the one accepting his witness, the particular witness, he caused to be attested that the God is truthful. All right. For whom the God sent, the words of the God he speaks. Not without measure he gives the Spirit. The Father loves the Son and has given until now everything, all things, in the hand of him. And there we have it. There are no... Well, Theos has an article, so we don't need to take a look at that. We're done. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope taking a look at this has been helpful for you. And I hope that you join me for the last video of the Greek in this chapter. Yeah, and then after that, summer things start, maybe. Well, farewell. Hey, not asleep yet? That's okay. I've got tons of other videos that are equally sleep-inducing. Check them out. Alternatively, you could take a look at this video over here.